Again, I'm Riley with Oregon Entrepreneurs Network. We set up these business essentials programs to be held online so they're accessible to members of the entrepreneurial community here in Oregon and Southwest Washington and beyond. And we partner with organizations and universities and companies who are out there helping support entrepreneurs in a wide variety of ways. And so we're delighted to be here today with the University of Oregon on what is actually World Entrepreneurship Day. Congratulations to all of you all, because you can celebrate as a participant in that. So we're really excited to have with us today some folks who have been founders of companies, and then also folks who have been founders of company and now are doing new and exciting things within the university system. And all of those folks celebrate and support founders and innovators in a variety of ways. And so they're going to be talking about what the University of Oregon is doing to support founders, how their MBA program potentially could help you as a founder, and ways that you can engage with them in the coming year. So I'd like to hand it off to, I don't know, Jake, do you want to say a few words and maybe some introductions of the folks who are going to be speaking? And then if you have any questions, feel free to throw those into the chat. We'll have a time at the end for folks to ask questions as well. You'll be able to unmute. But for now, if you want to throw those in the chat, I will be keeping track of them. Thanks so much.
Great. Thanks, Riley. Hi, I'm Jake Weatherly. I was honored to be the recipient of the OEN Entrepreneurial Achievement Award in 2023 as the founder of SheerID. We started SheerID in 2012 in Eugene, Oregon, and then in 2015 opened our Portland office where we are currently headquartered. About a year and a half ago, I hired and onboarded a new CEO, Stephanie Copeland Weber, for those of you who know her, and transitioned out from day to day. And I oversee SheerID from the board perspective, but definitely on to my next journey, which started at the University of Oregon in January as a volunteer, and then was asked to join more formally as an entrepreneur in residence. And then, as things often do, things grew and evolved quickly, and I accepted the interim director of innovation and entrepreneurship. What that means at the University of Oregon is that I run one of 4 centers that are concentrations for MBAs, and then our center is open to all students across campus. And the short version of it is that we help everyone from research scientists to undergrads to faculty with anything related to starting something, growing something, and the potential of entrepreneurship and innovation. So I'll leave it at that, and we'll have Nathan joining us here shortly, but I'll hand the mic over to Niloo.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Niloo Mirani. I was in the Innovation and Entrepreneur track of the MBA program, graduated in 2012. And I've been asked to just come here from an MBA grad perspective, from U of O's MBA perspective. So my current business is called Mirani Co. So I'll give you kind of a little bit of my quick journey after Oregon. I was a brand manager at Barilla, the pasta company, the one in the blue box. I usually have to say the one in the blue box, and then people know which one I'm talking about. But so after Oregon, I went and worked at Barilla on the brand team. Was the director of marketing at a startup that they had acquired for a number of years. And then I also started my own food company during that time. It was a snack company. We had distribution in Whole Foods, Erewhon. And then I continued working in corporate. I was doing that the whole time. And then recently, about a year and a half ago, I started Mirani Co, which is my current venture. And at Mirani Co, we are basically helping food and beverage businesses launch and grow. And that's through brand strategy, marketing consultancy, execution, all sorts of things. So that is my current business, and it's nice to meet you all. And I'll pass it over to Nathan.
Good morning, all. Hello. Sorry for joining a little late. I am You guys see me okay? I'm
Yep.
I'm choppy. Okay. Maybe hopefully my internet connection's okay here. Um, Nathan Lillegard, I'm currently an instructor at the University of Oregon. Oh, actually, no, scratch that. I've been upgraded to teaching professor. Sorry. It means I'm non-tenure track, but I've been teaching at the U of O for this is my 13th year. So that's kind of crazy. But I am an entrepreneur in recovery, I call myself. So I did a startup out of my MBA a company I started in 2006 called Floragenex. It was a biotech spin out of the U of O that took some technology developed by my co-founder, and we turned that into a services business for plant and animal researchers. So I did that for about 6 years, and then the opportunity came up to teach at U of O, and I decided to change career paths, and I've been here ever since. In the first 10 years that I was here at U of O, I helped coordinate and manage the MBA Innovation Entrepreneurship specialization. So I am very familiar with the whole MBA process of bringing students in, helping them understand what their startup journey goals are, and then helping them through the process with a bunch of courses that we've developed. So Niloo was a graduate the year that I started, so we passed in the night a little bit at events and things when I was a student or when I was an entrepreneur before I came on to the staff. And I'm excited to tell you about what we do for entrepreneurs in the graduate programs at the University of Oregon.
Awesome. All right, Nathan, do you want to run with
Sure.
curriculum design?
Sure. Sorry, a little bit out of sorts this morning. So the an important component of the Oregon MBA is that the innovation entrepreneurship track is one of four specializations that you can pursue when you come to Oregon to get your MBA. There's four flavors of it: sports marketing, finance, sustainability, and innovation entrepreneurship. So our curriculum design in the MBA in the innovation entrepreneurship program is focused around the concept of um, understanding an opportunity, figuring out how to validate whether an opportunity exists in the market, thinking about how you would scale that opportunity, and then if you have the wherewithal and the desire, taking that opportunity all the way through to execution. You know, being as crazy as I was to um, actually go out and start a company. Which, if you've done that, you know how slightly ridiculous that is. Is it just with nothing more than an MBA, but you can go out and do that. So the set of courses that we've developed kind of go in a sequence where you start with opportunity recognition, new venture planning, new venture scaling, and new venture execution. And so that's all designed to start in the um, second term of your first year. So MBA being a 2-year program. So you start with opportunity recognition in the winter. So I'll teach that this coming January through March. You move into venture planning come the spring term, and then you do venture scaling and venture execution in your second year, leaving a third term in your second year if you desire to continue to take new venture scaling, where you can actually get credit for starting your company, right? Just like I did, you can go forth and do your thing and actually get credit for the process of starting your business. And we've had several companies go through and do that. So that is really the curriculum design. Megan, what's up on next? Yeah, so the Lundquist Center for Entrepreneurship's been around for, let's see, I want to say like 35 years
Yeah, I
probably.
think that's right.
But yeah, it's like 89, 90-ish, which is kind of crazy. It was one of the first collegiate centers of entrepreneurship in the country. And if you go back further, there's some silly grants back in the 70s where U of O actually got money with Carnegie Mellon, MIT, somebody else, and us to start really the earliest entrepreneurship research focus. But we've been around for a long time. Charles Lundquist endowed the center in 1989, and it's a physical space within the college, but it's also a curricular driver for entrepreneurship within the entire university. So Jake and others connect, we connect throughout the university to help people understand what entrepreneurship is all about. And not just on the MBA level, but there's, I don't know, Jake, what do you think? Like a couple hundred students involved with or undergraduate entrepreneurship stuff?
Yeah, last year the big program that starts at the end of January, we had just over 400 students engage. And we'll talk about the specifics in terms of programming in a little bit. But one thing that I think is important to understand is that the Center for Entrepreneurship is one of four centers that align with four concentrations in the MBA program. So we have the Center for Entrepreneurship, we have the Warsaw Center for Sports Business, physically, I guess, right above the Entrepreneurship Center. Across the
Yeah.
way in the building, we have Finance and Securities, and then above that, Sustainability. So MBAs are asked to choose a concentration, yet it's all very collaborative
Mhm.
among the centers. So think of the
Yeah.
center as basically a physical space with programming that augments what's happening in the classroom and is, very complementary and collaborative.
Yep. Yep. Very, very, very well said. Very and very much and I guess not exclusive in any way in that there are students who have a passion for sustainability who end up taking an entrepreneurship class and I say, gosh, I'm kind of interested in taking my uh, idea for sustainable business and doing something with it. And so the Entrepreneurship Center will help them. There might be students interested in sports marketing who um, want to start a thing and then they come to the entrepreneurship to get that understanding and even the entrepreneurship center will often tap into the finance center to pull in a finance oriented number crunching MBA to help the sustainability or sports focused student who isn't so happy with the numbers figure it out. So it really is pretty collaborative, and we've had some of our most successful ventures have been mixes of all of those different types of folks. So it's
I was just
hands-on
going to
learning.
say the same thing, Nathan. Yeah, and then it's important to understand that we also serve hard sciences. So we have the night campus. Um, that is, I guess, phase two is almost complete. Phase three being designed. But what you have there is, in essence, a research facility. And out of that research, not only in the night campus, but all over the university, are, really strong. Commercializable intellectual property. And so if you
Mhm,
think about bringing somebody together from finance and accounting, from innovation and entrepreneurship and hard sciences, what we see often is we see founding teams form with each of those areas of expertise covered and that sort of gelling that happens in order for a venture to take flight. And there are other components that we can talk about as well in terms of financial support, investment vehicles, and then some donor gifts that align really well to pre-seed or seed some of these
mhm,
new ventures. But I guess just a little peek into how we get things off the ground,
mhm.
not just talk about them in classroom theoretically.
Yeah, yeah. That's the key, is it's not a theoretical, um, not a theoretical center. It's not, there are fantastic researchers in our management department who do wonderful research around the concepts of entrepreneurship, but we also have a lot of great faculty that are both researchers and entrepreneurs themselves. So most of our lead faculty members that are focused on entrepreneurship have been entrepreneurs themselves. So that's a great way to sort of combine both the academic knowledge and the practical knowledge. So it's a pretty powerful group of folks. So the
I think a
last,
good example of that, Nathan, if I can jump in, is the
sure.
seminar series that's underway right now. So we have John Hull, who is Intel Capital and also started Nike Ventures, and then Michael Crook, known as MC, who's six-time CEO. Probably the most recognizable among so many would be that he was the CEO of Patagonia. And so they're spending time with companies that have in some way, shape, or form spawned from the University of Oregon. So U of O alum founders or current The last one was a current research scientist who's developed a sensor that's implanted into the knee with a ACL or MCL surgery. So super, super innovative stuff. But then think about the wrap around the product, which is all of the things that we as entrepreneurs focus on: go to market, finance and accounting, and so many other things.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last little bit on the hands-on learning that I want to make sure we cover is the idea of experiential trips. So one of the most important things about being an entrepreneur is to get out of the building, because as Steve Blank would say, there are no facts inside the building. And even though Eugene is a fantastic, wonderful place to live, there are fewer entrepreneurs there than you might want to connect with, right? So we get out of the building, we go to San Francisco, Seattle, Portland regularly. We've been to the Bend Venture Conference. So we take students out of the program, get out and talk to alumni and other businesses in the greater West Coast region to help people connect with people with alumni and friends of the university who can help them figure it out. I think that's one of the most powerful things is we tap into that duck network with a lot, which sort of extends your experience.
Agreed. And this is an area where we encourage you as OEN members to engage with students. We find so many people who want to spend time with students doing a workshop, doing what we call innovation hour, being a guest speaker in Nathan's class. Another way to get involved would be to make your team available or a point person from your team available in order to help facilitate a site visit. Because the more we can immerse these MBA candidates and undergrads and student club members in a real world experience, the faster we're preparing the next generation of entrepreneurs to launch and go to market.
Yeah.
There was a quick
So
question.
Natalia, I wanted to.
Hey, Nathan, before you keep going, there's a quick question in the chat asking, are there things that are available to folks who aren't students to participate in some of these things? I mean, you mentioned some things as founders of companies and stuff, but is there other ways that they could get potentially involved without being a student?
Yeah,
Yes.
Natalia, the programs that are run through the Center of Entrepreneurship have included, not just students, but also faculty, researchers, et cetera. So we'll talk about the Oregon Innovation Challenge and then some of both the ad hoc and more formal programs that are run in the Center for Entrepreneurship. But also from the community perspective, it's just a great spot for people to stop in when they're visiting for a duck game or they're on campus for a few days or a week. We curate like workshops and innovation hours and those kinds of things. The whole key is that we want the community of entrepreneurship, not just U of O alum, but sort of everyone, to have the opportunity to engage with students because we have students who are so hungry for diverse perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah. And Natalia, I see just looking you up online, you're a postdoc at the Knight campus, right? So you are more than welcome to come in and, whatever Jake or I or anything we can do to help connect you with folks. I know that the Knight campus has fantastic resources for the researchers seeking to become business folks or seeking to spin out their thing. But it's often really helpful to get perspective from the non-science people who can help you understand the business side of things. So we're here for you. Come on across the way or invite us over. We're happy to go over to your, beautiful building where I see you're sitting right now. Pretty nice. Good spot to go for coffee. So we like that. So cool. What's next? There we go. Program evolution. Awesome. Oh, cool. Thank you, Megan. So I think one of the interesting things to think about is how entrepreneurship has changed over the years. When the Entrepreneurship Center started, it was really pretty straightforward. Like it was, you start a business, you do a thing, here's the way you go out and get money, grow your business. Good luck to you, right? And then when Jake and I were starting companies in the early 2000s, there were people that were actually thinking about this process in a way that they started writing down some instructions, go figure, and helping us come around to the idea of the lean startup methodology, and they published the startup owner's manual and did all these different things that really gave us a structure to build out the program. And so I started to adopt those principles in 2012 when I arrived in my position. And those have extended out to all the things that we do for our students related to helping them understand the experiences necessary to be an entrepreneur, right? So getting them out of the building, talking to potential customers, help them understand that it's like not just an idea, but like you have to go out and figure out what people want. I know it's mind blowing, but 25 years ago, that was not how people did it. They were just like, oh, I got this idea. I'm going to sell pet food online. And then it didn't work out. But now we send people out and do things. And so the evolution of the program has really been focused on this like experiential learning for students to get out and understand that it's way less about how smart you are as an entrepreneur and way more about your ability to understand what the market wants and needs. And so I think that's a really big focus of what we do.
Yeah, and I would add, it's really interesting to see product design. We had students from the music school, from really all over campus, come into the entrepreneurial experience, and you add, the overlay that, so many people are talking about right now in terms of AI and so many other resources, cloud computing, et cetera. What we have is we have basically a tool stack and infrastructure that's a massive accelerator. And to Nathan's point, the ability to gain customer insights or market insights, to do a deep analysis of the market, figure out your point of entry and growth strategy, all of these things can be done so much more quickly because we basically have access to the world from wherever we are. And so, we're starting to see student teams. There's one actually who stood up a consumer app, iterated on it, designed it to really scale. It caught fire in terms of popularity, and they're sophomores, and they just sold it to a strategic, and they're moving on to their next one. So the speed at which this is happening, I think that we're embracing really well and encouraging. Um, and we're learning as well as we go from the students and sort of some of the modern approaches and tools and technologies that they use.
Yeah, yeah. Back in the day, you used to have to buy computers to run your software. Now you just put in give Amazon or Microsoft a credit card and away you go, right, Jake?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the other program evolution pieces to think about is how we interact with the sciences and sort of I'll call them sort of harder, deep technology spinouts. As Natalia, I don't know what you research, but I'm sure it's way more complicated than a consumer-facing app that some sophomores could put together. And so one of the things that we do is we've tied ourselves to the Knight Campus Bioengineering PhD program. I don't think you would have taken that class because you're a postdoc, but there's a class called Bioengineering 614, which is the equivalent to our Management 635, which is opportunity recognition. So it's the same basic course that leads into the entrepreneurship graduate specialization. And so that course really focuses on figuring out what the opportunity is. For the scientists, it's a market push idea or a technology push idea where you say, I've got a technology, I want to get it into the market. How do I do that? How do I figure out what the opportunity is? For the MBAs, it's a little bit more of a market pull, which is how do you find a need in the market and then develop a solution for it? But scientists and engineers generally have developed a thing that does something, and they want to figure out how to get it out into the world. And so once you get past that first step, the tracks really merge, and that's a nice sort of evolution of the program over the years that we've developed. And that was one of the core components for establishing that program at the Knight campus so that we can get technologies from really amazing, smart researchers solving really hard, complex problems into the market as fast as possible. It still doesn't happen as fast as a consumer app that can spin up in a year and get really crazy crazy popular, but it's a process that we can help, a journey we can help people along.
Right. And support and resources along the way. Natalia, I think you were in the room yesterday when Kelly presented her thesis and defended her thesis. One of the things that she mentioned was that she went to the Czech Republic to observe the first animal studies of the procedure and her product. It's a biomedical product it's actually a nerve guide that's being created using really highly proprietary 3D printing. So she had to invent the process, invent the machines in order to then invent the product. And that experience that she had in the Czech Republic was the result of her participation in the Oregon Innovation Challenge, where she was one of the funded teams. And the funding is non-dilutive, non-equity. It's basically a grant or a gift that a team or an individual founder can use to make progress. And that's the no strings. And then we also have Launch Oregon, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But if you think about the idea to MVP, to early go-to-market, to then pre-seed, seed, potentially then venture, if you're on a venture scale kind of track, what we've done is we've really put together those building blocks and those resources in the form of experts as well as money in order to get something off the ground and seek a glide path.
Cool.
And now you get to hear from an MBA.
So, thank you so much. So, today I know a lot of the focus was how can we sort of foster entrepreneurship, and touching a little bit on what Jake and Nathan were saying earlier about how entrepreneurship has evolved. I personally think, and this is coming from my POV, which is food and beverage, but I think entrepreneurship is so much more difficult now than it was before. I think it's so much more difficult to be successful as an entrepreneur. And the reason is because it's easier to become an entrepreneur. I mean, we have AI at our fingertips. It's, quite easy for someone to just have an idea, come up with all the content, put it out there. And as a result, it's just more crowded. There's more competition. And it's not authentic anymore. Like there's so much out there and it's just there's so much noise. So for me, I think about the MBA program and it's like a lot of people in the younger generation now, they're questioning higher education. They're questioning, do they need an MBA, right? Like it's so easy to just start a business. Why would I do this? And I absolutely think that it's even more important than ever to have that space of an MBA in this, world of entrepreneurship. And the reason I feel that way is because, so my experience was that when I went to Oregon for my MBA program, I had been at the Food Network before. I was like completely lost with my career. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know what I wanted to start. I think that's very common for entrepreneurs. A lot of them are like, I don't want to be in the 9 to 5. I want to start my own thing, but I don't know what that looks like. And so I took the MBA as a time to really give myself space to figure out what I wanted to do. And, as Jake and Nathan and talked through in the previous section, there's so many sort of guided opportunities for people to really hone in on what they want to do with their business. Like, what do they want to start? And that's exactly what I did during the program. So I came in thinking I wanted to start a food cart. And I think that was just totally, I have no idea. I grew up in the food business and that was my thing. And as the program went along, you meet so many people from different backgrounds. My whole world was food. It still is now, but my whole world was food at that time. I met a lot of people in so many different industries and sectors, and I realized that I was thinking too small. And so that was what the Oregon MBA gave me. It gave me this kind of 2-year space to really just like have experiences and have that 2-year block. Like when else in your life do you have this 2-year block where you just don't have to think about like exactly what it is you're doing in that moment. You don't have that pressure of like, how am I going to make money? And, in some ways you do, but you're kind of giving yourself that space. And so that's what I did. So basically, I went to Oregon because at the time, which was 2010, um, it still is. So I was looking specifically for an entrepreneur program. As Nathan mentioned, it was one of the first. The rankings are very strong. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at Oregon. I looked at a few others. And when I came to visit Oregon, it was just a very personal experience. What I think Oregon's MBA offers is that it's a very personal experience, but it's top tier. It's like this really nice combination. You get the one-on-one conversations. It's a smaller cohort, but it's a top ranked program. And so that was why I chose it. And it was just such a unique experience, and it was not at all what I expected. I thought I was going to go in there and really focus on the curriculum. And I think the biggest takeaway for me was, the community. I mean, the amount of group projects you do. I think, I don't know who here has been through an MBA program before, but if you've been through an MBA program, like it's all group projects. And there's just people from all different worlds, and you start to realize that, you get a different perspective on things, different work styles. That's something that I have taken with me throughout my career, as anyone, would. And so that was kind of like basically my reason for going into the MBA. So what ended up happening after the MBA program was, originally I wanted my food cart, learned throughout the MBA program that was not what I wanted to do. And I learned in a class that I had taken, and I can't remember the name of it. Nathan might remember, but it was like a brand management class. And I didn't even know brand management was a career before I did the MBA program. And I'm like, wait, this is wonderful. So I ended up getting a job at Barilla after the MBA program, in brand management. Right away, that job requires an MBA. So right away, I doubled I was making, I mean, this is like crazy to think about, but I was making like $32,000 before the MBA program, which at the time was normal. Um, and I like more than doubled my salary just literally from having the MBA on my resume. And so the MBA kind of paid for itself right away. And it was the catalyst for me then to build my career. And to this day, like my career now is consulting food brands on how to grow and how to, whether it's launching or relaunching or how to grow their business. My job is essentially coaching entrepreneurs, and I could have never ever I could have never done that if I didn't have the experience of Oregon's MBA program, because I didn't know how to work with people. Like I didn't know how to work with all different types of personalities and work styles. And honestly, that's my big takeaway from the MBA program. And, we took a trip to China during one summer. I don't know if you guys are still doing the China trip.
No, COVID killed engaging in Asia.
COVID killed it. So at the time we had a China trip. We did a bunch of Seattle trips. We did Portland trips, which I know those are still part of the program.
Yeah, we have a New York City trip coming up in January, Niloo.
Amazing. So yeah, we didn't have that one. They've replaced China with that one. But all those trips, like you're learning from the best companies in the business. So that was wonderful. And so after the MBA, I went to Barilla, and at the time, I also started my own food business. So the food cart thing kind of went away, but I always had in the back of my mind, I want to start my own company, because that was the purpose, right? That was why I went to the entrepreneurship program. So I started my snack company called Niloo Persian Trail Mix. My background is I'm half Persian, and so I created this product, which was basically bringing Persian food to mainstream grocery, which did not exist at the time, and it still doesn't really exist. And so, I took all of my learnings from the program. I bootstrapped it. I didn't have any funding. That was kind of one of the things that I realized I didn't want to get investors. That was something that I kind of defined during the program. So I bootstrapped the company and, over time grew it to quite a large business. And, it was wonderful. And I did all of that as a side hustle during kind of while I was still at Barilla. But yeah, so honestly, like learning how to just do accounting. I remember taking an accounting course, not knowing how to do that. Like the basic finance stuff, because I'm all about marketing and branding. Finance and accounting is not my thing. So, just learning the basic curriculum stuff was very helpful. But again, it was like making those connections. And I think today, a lot of, I've mentioned that I think entrepreneurship is a lot more difficult than it used to be. And I think a lot of people neglect the people aspect of being an entrepreneur. They think all about the product and they think about how they can sort of launch something that, they think is a great idea. And as Nathan mentioned, I mean, it's really about what the consumer wants. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you think is a great idea. It matters if people are going to buy it. So, I think that's the biggest thing today is like, how can people be successful is really focusing on the people aspect and just getting yourself out there and, talking to your customers, going to farmers markets, like literally walking the grocery aisles and stopping people as they're shopping. Um, and then customer service and, just being a good person when people send you a message, responding to it right away and making sure that you have like the basic etiquette and being polite. I see so many founders nowadays that don't have that. And they did teach us a lot about that during the program. So I think that was a big takeaway for me as well. I'm just looking through my notes here to see kind of what questions I was supposed to talk about that I might be missing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. And that one of the last things that I was going to touch on, and Jake and Nathan, please jump in on this part, but
Sure.
the question was kind of like what excites us about the next generation of entrepreneurs. And I'm sure everyone has a perspective on this. But for me as a food person with my point of view in food, I love that founders nowadays are so founder-led. They lead with themselves. They talk about like their background. And I mean, if you go on an Instagram account of any food brand right now, 50% of the posts are the founder. It's not even about the product. And it's working for them. And it's something that back in my generation, like people wouldn't do that. It was all about the product. It was all about talking about the functional benefits. And now it's about the founder. And people are being bold. Like they're talking about, who they are and why they started this. It feels really authentic in that way. So I'm excited that a lot more uniqueness and diversity is coming into the space now with, these founder-led food companies. People are being really open about who they are. They don't care what people think about them. I think a lot of it is not knowing what they don't know. And that gives you such an edge at the beginning when you're an entrepreneur, just like throwing yourself out there. But I'm really personally excited about how founder-led it is nowadays.
Yeah. And I'll add to that a little bit, Nilo. Something you touched on at the beginning was having the 2 years of space to really like figure out what you wanted to do and how you wanted to like extend your career. Still being passionate about being an entrepreneur, but probably if I read into what you're doing and what I've seen students do, it's like you get there, you have an idea, and then you learn enough to be like, ooh, that's not the best way to be an entrepreneur. Like starting a food cart is probably not my fastest way to be a successful, financially rewarded entrepreneur. It's like, it's great if you love to make hot dogs and like that's what you want to do, but like
Make
that's
no
a
money.
really hard business to run.
Yeah.
Right. And so you learn these things about the opportunities. And I see this all the time where students come in with an idea and then they get through it and they're like, oh, that's not quite how I want to do this, right? But when you get an MBA, you get to you go through that process, refine your idea, figure out the path forward for that idea, whatever it may be, but you always have that degree to fall back on, right? So you got a job as a brand manager at Barilla, an international, pasta brand, because you had an MBA, and now you're doing so many more things because you have that MBA. You didn't just go through and start a business. You actually built a nice foundation for your career that you can build upon, which is the reason you invest in yourself to go to graduate school.
Yeah, thank you for actually perfectly articulating what I was probably mumbling through. That's exactly right. And what I needed that experience at Barilla to start my own food brand. And so it was this evolution. I needed MBA to get to Barilla, and I needed those experiences at Barilla to successfully run a food brand. And I absolutely it's not like, oh, well, you got your MBA to start a business and you didn't start a business. No, it just actually taught me that I needed to take more time in order to be successful at it. So, yeah, thank you, Nathan, for saying that.
No problem. Been doing this a while.
Yeah, I think all really great points. I mean, one of the things that excites me about the next generation of entrepreneurs is, what we have the fortune and opportunity to see every day. And I think, Nathan, to your point, the ability for individuals with a huge risk tolerance, right? There's sort of a nothing to lose mentality in your student years, which slowly but surely goes away for a lot of folks as, mortgages and children and other concerns maybe inject themselves into your life. But one of the things that I see is that we have really motivated people all over campus, highlighted by our first and second year MBA candidates who see no shortage of problems to solve and opportunities in various markets. And what I'm seeing is that they're attacking those problems and addressing those opportunities with energy and speed, collaboration and support among the cohort, among their peers, with faculty and with friends of the university who come in and help. And then also, just to reiterate the point, with an ability to stand up a website for free in a couple of hours instead of spending time with an agency and a lot of money in order to get website 1.0 up, to iterate very quickly and potentially pivot from food cart to food brand, for example, Niloo. It's the speed plus the energy plus so many opportunities that are out there, and then the support mechanism that we've built as a community in order to foster the entrepreneurial journey and experience.
Yep. Yep, that's what it's all about. And like we said, today's technology makes it like so much easier to do customer discovery with social media groups and polls and all of the things, and coding, no code apps for all of the things you would want to do. It's a little frustrating for those of us who did it the hard way, but hey, it helps students like go through the process, do it faster, fail faster, which means you learn more quickly, and then you come out the other end hopefully more productive. So,
yeah, one of the themes that I see in a lot of these discussions is the various currencies over time and how things have changed. So I think, as we alluded to earlier, if you were standing up a software solution, that was really capital intensive, late 90s, early 2000s, where step one was stand up a data center. Then you have rise of internet, then cloud compute, and then AI, which I think the theme that I'm seeing is the most valuable currency in so many of these conversations and surrounding so many of these ideas that are taking shape is really market and customer insights. The ability to talk at scale to your potential customers, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands more via social and other ways to engage with real people one-on-one. is astounding. And, it previously was, years in piles of money in order to gain those insights to then fine tune your product and really reach product market fit. I'm seeing things out of the gates with product market fit. And then it's really about fueling the go-to-market strategy.
Yep. Yep.
So Nathan, you want to talk about, do we want to go to past gaps? Is that the next thing? Yeah.
Sure. Sure. I mean, we can think about the way the things we do to sort of fill those, to build in the programs to touch on challenges that we've had with different companies in different times. So, like I mentioned, my background as the co-founder of a scientific-based business, right? So back many, many moons ago, 20 years ago, the U of O started a program called the Technology Entrepreneurship Program. I think, Niloo, were you one of the fellows for that,
Yep.
right? So, yeah. So it was focused on the idea that there was a gap in the process between scientific innovation and actually launching a company. And I think at least a couple of our participants on the call here have been through that process, right? Or are involved in that process. And that program had some funding to put MBA and law graduate students on teams that would look at technologies and figure out what the heck does this do, right? Like this is an innovation. Maybe it's a patent from that has been applied for by a university researcher or something innovative. Like who cares is basically the process that we went through over the summer. It was a summer fellowship where you looked at this technology, you kind of did a deep dive into what it does, and then you got to figure out if there's a market opportunity for it. And so that was a component that we built out over the sort of early 2000s into about 2015 when the program sort of ran out of financial steam. But it helped build the foundation for what we've got now with the night campus linkages, and it really helped solidify the sequence of classes that we now teach, which starts with this idea of opportunity recognition and moves out to the execution phase. So that link of science and entrepreneurship has happened, and we've had several companies that started based on science, but we've also had several graduates go on to be that scientific entrepreneur business side things, right? Like you got to have this unique capability to both have the business acumen to understand that side of things, but also be deep in the world of whatever your research is, right? So I found luck and success with a co-founder who trusted me with the business stuff because I got an MBA. He was like, sure, you must know what you're doing. Little did we know how much we didn't know. But we went forth and did that and got the company up and running. But we've put students at various places to link the MBAs with deep technical insight and curiosity with founders who need that help. And that's kind of one of the things that's been really interesting to do. And pieces of that are connecting those students with whoever it is that makes the most sense for them to learn from, right? One of the things that I think Jake and I take pride in is the fact that we know a lot of people in a way that we can have genuine asks to help a student along the way, right? Jake, it's like if you evaluate what students need, you sort of
Right.
evaluate like who are they and how safe is it to make a connection for them, and then you try to connect them with people who can have real impact in their journey, right? Whatever that might be, whether that's, if I had been there when Niloo was a student, it's like, well, who is in the trail mix food, ethnic food world in Eugene? Well, there's a bunch of people that do that, right? So let's connect her to someone who's walked that path, and then she can learn from that and hopefully not make as many mistakes. So that's just part of the process as well. Anything to add,
Agreed.
Jake?
Yeah, and I think I mean, if there's a call to action for OEN members, it's, become part of this community if you're not already, in order to be a provider of some of these solutions and advice and mentorship to these budding entrepreneurs. Examples under the roof or umbrella of the University of Oregon would be a scientist who's working on designing goes over to the School of Architecture. School of Architecture opens their world to an entire CAD CAM design platform wherein they then design their product, return to the night campus, and put their eyes on a microscope and implement what they learned and what they designed with students in architecture. Over at the Lundquist School of Business, doing financial forecasting and pressure testing around scenarios in order to understand, do I need to raise? How much would I need to raise? Over what amount of time? Do I need to grow the team, or can I do this in a sort of lean, fast way without bringing on a bunch of team members? And then outside of the university, example that I can give is the AI Student Association actually left yesterday morning, road tripped down to the San Francisco Bay Area and asked me just a few weeks ago to help fill their agenda for site visits. And we were able to get them to the founding engineer of DeepMind, who's now at Google helping run Gemini. We have them in with Accenture and Salesforce. We have 3 tier 1 VC meetings for them. And so this ability for us to sort of reach out to the broader world, not just in Oregon, but sort of everywhere, and analyze the need, as Nathan articulated, in order to find not the right point solution, but sort of the right orbit within which these folks should be inserted or invited in order to answer these questions and fine-tune their strategy and make progress. That's really what it's about, is making measurable progress. And measurable progress for an entrepreneur, if you're alone, feels really risky and really lonely. If you're surrounded by like-minded individuals, and then add to that folks who have seen the movie before or several times before, then it feels a lot less scary.
Yep. 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 So that's part of the process, is helping get students connected with people, whoever that might be. And that's part of the value of the network that we bring to bear. And it goes from Seattle to San Diego, for places that we can help students find people that can help move them along, right? Like,
Yep.
that's the idea. Like, talk to someone who helps them understand a bigger picture of a market, and they go, oh, I never thought of that. Huh, right? And then, like, especially in the food business or technology, where you're like, oh, it's in food, it's like, oh, there's this whole distribution layer. Like, that sucks. Like, I got to figure out I got to figure out how to make enough product to get it into thousands of stores to really get scale. And
have enough gross margin to have all these hands in the wallet
yeah,
side to
right.
side.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh crap. Now I got to go back to my accounting and gross margin. Like, what is that again? Like, oh, it's really, and the same thing will exist as you get into different types of technology, right? So biomedical stuff has an entirely different set of challenges and issues, which some of you are probably aware of, right? It's not an easy place to get a business off the ground, and it's got separate, different types of steps along the way. So the more you can, I guess it's really like talking to an old soul on the trail. Like, you run into someone and they're like, well, if you go up there, you got to watch out for this rock and that thing. And sort of like having someone help you through the process, whether that be a professor or a mentor you connect with, or just someone you meet along the way, is really helpful. And I had that same thing when I was an entrepreneur. I know Jake did when he was an entrepreneur. Just somebody to be like, well, have you thought about, before you make that big decision that could cause, all sorts of chaos, right? And so that's part of what entrepreneurship is. And that's what OEN, and I know Riley and Sarah and the whole team, like, you guys bring a whole network of people together, which is really powerful, right? So we hope to tap into that in some way and help expand on that as well. So,
Indeed.
all right. Present needs of young entrepreneurs. Oh boy.
I mean, I think going back to the bullet point on the previous slide, but certainly stay here, Megan, the business fundamentals, I'm reminded constantly, because sometimes I tend to just like go really deep really quickly with certain assumptions, and I need to kind of pause and take a step back. We did a workshop last Thursday evening on literally just the fundamentals of gathering data, separating the signal from the noise, analyzing data, and therefore making evidence-based decisions. And I mean, it was so fundamental that partway through, I was looking around thinking, boy, are we just, I mean, is this just like 101 or is this like data, 95 that we're workshopping here? And it wasn't. It was eye-opening to so many of that next generation of entrepreneurs. So, back to the basics in terms of the ability to do a financial forecast, the ability to put together a pitch deck, the ability to analyze a market, segment it, and weigh various strategies or various points of entry or beachheads. These things are so critical in order to build this foundation. But then moving into these bullet points, access to early stage capital, hands-on learning experiences, and guest speakers. One of the things that we hear very consistently from MBAs, undergrads, and then certainly from the community surrounding the University of Oregon is this hunger for experiential learning. And that's an area that I think is unique to the University of Oregon MBA. And part of the reason for that is the level of engagement that we have from the community, both alumni in the greater Springfield, Eugene area, throughout Oregon, and then beyond nationally and even internationally. I had the fortune, for example, of sitting in on a session last week with University of Oregon alumni who came to town for the game and wanted to stop in and talk with students. This individual's on their 17th year at Visa and oversees global product for Visa. This individual literally invented and implemented tap to pay globally. And there they are sitting in a conference room with 20 students, intently listening to their story. So it's just astounding from so many different categories, so many different industries, so many different markets, what these students have the opportunity to tap into. And then often that's the spark for a mentorship relationship or an advisor for a startup, potential board member, and potential early stage investor.
Yeah, it's the stuff that you don't know that you don't know, and the things that you expand your mind with when you, as a student, right? Books and classes, even if I have 8 hours if I have 4 hours a week with students in a class, like you can't cover everything, right? So you've got to augment everything you do with out of the classroom experiences, and that's really where it comes into play, whether it's a guest speaker who comes onto campus, and we have some amazing ones, and I've met that same person, Jake, and you're like what, like,
Yeah.
tap, like the whole thing, and you talk to people, you're like, oh well. And I think the core of learning is to help students understand that everything started small and nothing was like a given, right? There was no guarantee that this was going to work or that was going to work. It's like people had to go through this process of discovering how to build a business around a technology or their idea or whatever it might be. And most people who have been successful over their career failed at least once, probably twice, most likely 3 to 10 times, and that's just part of the normal process. So, you got to help students understand that that's part of it as well. So that's where the guest speakers and learning experiences come into play.
Agreed.
Yeah, Nathan, I just wanted to touch on that too, because that's where my brain was going as well. And I think, this concept of you don't know what you don't know, I think we all recognize that that's something that all early entrepreneurs, it's like a very common theme. But when you're sitting and you're talking to these really successful CEOs or founders or whatever, and you're realizing that this nothing ever happened overnight for them. It took them decades to get to where they are. And they're telling the whole story of all the various businesses that failed and then what their resume looks like. It really does put things into perspective. And I experienced that a lot. You don't really get the opportunity to hear from CEOs that often, right? I mean, and then in this program, it's like dumped on you. You have so many opportunities to talk to CEOs, and it's just something I personally never realized before the program.
And it's really neat to see the superpower, in my opinion, leverage, which is, hey, I'm currently a student at the University of Oregon and I'm curious about this. Talk about a door opener.
Hmm.
I mean, there are very few people who won't answer that message and engage. And sometimes they fly to Eugene in order to take it to the next level. Other times it's, one-on-one call that grows into a deep relationship. But it's so special to see the students grow as individuals, grow their leadership and their confidence, and to see the results.
Yep, indeed, indeed. So if we think through sort of the innovation ecosystem, I'll pick this up and Jake, you can follow on. But one of the things that I took pride in my time running the center and throughout my career here at U of O has been really trying to help tie the University of Oregon to our greater community of entrepreneurship. And Riley and Sarah, you two are part of that. Like one of the core linkages right across the state where people can connect with different types of entrepreneurs. And so we host events here in Eugene. We've got our seminar series. I guess is series the multiple of series is I don't know. I don't know. But we have multiple seminars where we have bring in speakers. Just recently this term we've had some alumni starting a I'll call it like a high-end outerwear brand for college football fans or college sports fans. We've had Pandaria, which was the sensor inside the knee joint. And we've had people come who have started AI companies and lots of other technology companies. So we host people. I'll let you talk about the innovation hours and the innovation challenge, Jake, but the core that I think is helping students connect out to the things that OEN does and that the Ben Venture Conference and other places, and just helping make students aware of all of the resources that exist within the state. And there's, whether you want to be a food entrepreneur or a tech entrepreneur or a biotech entrepreneur, there's a place for you to go where as a student, like Jake said, you can show up and just, you've got student written on your name tag and people always want to ask you, like, what are you doing? What are you studying? And it's the easiest opening line in networking history is, hey, I'm a student and I just want to learn. What can I learn from you? So it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, agreed. And in the seminar series is each of the four concentrations as well. So we have Warsaw Sports Business. We had, I think, head of brand and marketing for X Games a couple of weeks ago. We have finance and securities. We had someone come in who's the head of an investment bank, in essence, that underwrites specifically sustainable energy. So like multi-billion dollar projects that they fund. So, broad swath of again industries and areas of focus and sort of individuals based on their background and where they are in their careers today. That pours into innovation hours. We do innovation hours in the Center for Entrepreneurship. Sometimes, frankly, reactively or ad hoc based on somebody who's coming to campus tomorrow or next week. And then certainly, planned ahead as well. But these are places for students to come in and hear a story and ask questions. We had the head of the gaming division, previously AWS and now Databricks, in the center 3 weeks ago, talking about their passion for gaming, game design, and infrastructure around gaming. super, super interesting. And there were some folks there who have designed games or are just super interested in that world. So we try to listen to what the students are looking for and interested in, while at the same time you have to kind of matrix in the fact that people are going to be in Eugene. And one thing that I found as a tie that binds is that, when folks who are pretty far into their career come to Eugene, they want to meet students and they want to spend time with students. And Nathan and I have shared with one another that one of the most amazing things about being part of the University of Oregon and being part of this community is that our batteries are recharged on like a daily and hourly basis by this, fresh perspective and energy that so many of the students bring to the discussion and bring to the table.
Indeed.
Oregon Innovation Challenge. So this is the Center of Entrepreneurship's sort of big program that happens every year. Some of you may be familiar with previously the National Venture Competition. OIC is sort of, I guess, growth and maybe we could call it a replacement. OIC is basically it kicks off at the end of January, goes through the beginning of June. And it's all comers. So we have graduate students, we have researchers, we have undergrad students from all areas of the university. And the process really is to come in either with an idea or even with a desire to explore entrepreneurship and potentially develop an idea. And we walk through a series of meetings, workshops, build nights, and one-on-one mentor hours with our entrepreneurs and residents in order to go from idea to minimum viable product to deep market research and analysis, then development of strategy. In the second half, we start to walk through developing a pitch deck, tuning that pitch deck, practicing, and then it culminates with 2 days of pitches, of student pitches. And last year, we started with just over 400, had 100 student teams go all the way through to pitch, and then we funded 30 with a gift that is sort of evergreen in terms of the budget perspective, in order to fund these student teams with between $2,000 and $10,000 in order for them to focus as OIC funded summer fellows on continuing to make progress in that venture. And
Yep.
continuing to make progress is really, it's defined by that student entrepreneur. So continuing to make progress may be going deep into research. It may be launching an MVP to an early small subset of customers in order to get feedback and tune the product. It may be going to Czechoslovakia and observing the first procedure to implant a nerve guide. So, wide variety of student startups and wide variety of definitions of progress. But the idea here is that we can help a student to continue to focus on that startup and go from idea to execution.
Yep.
And then all of this in the context of the Willamette Innovation Corridor. So we do a lot of collaboration with Oregon State University, with OHSU, and then the Portland campus as well. One of the things that I found to be especially interesting is that we have a product design major at the University of Oregon, and the last year of product design happens on the Portland campus. So we had 5 or 6 groups, actually, no, I think it was 10 or 11 from the Portland campus participate in the Oregon Innovation Challenge. And we have one of our student team members up on the Portland campus, as well as a couple of entrepreneurs and folks who are engaged there. So, we like to think about the corridor and the various stopping points between Eugene and Portland as the community and the resources that are represented, day to day in person.
Yep. I've actually got an example of a student experience that helps sort of bring that together. So, a couple of students I teach in our sports product management program, which is based in Portland. So the U of O Portland campus is out about 28th and Lombard-ish. So north to northeast Portland, early kind of close in northeast, not more than 10, 15 minutes away from downtown. And I've got some students in my new venture planning class for the SPM program who started in the OIC last year. They've got an idea for an interchangeable shoe system, right? So you
Oh
have an
yeah.
upper plus multiple. I think you might know these folks, Jake,
Yep.
right? And so they've gone through, they sort of incubated that idea in the SPM program. They participated in OIC last year to kind of work on their business concept. They're taking my class now where I'm working them through the new venture planning idea, right? Like putting some numbers to this and figuring out what the market is. And they just recently pitched Thai Oregon as an angel investor group, right? They're not, I don't think they made the full pitch to the full group, but they're like working through that process, right? So it's a classic example of students connecting with the programs we have. We prep them to go out to the real world and talk to real investors, right? So this is not a this is a live fire exercise with them going before a group of potential investors to talk about how they could get their idea off the ground. So that's just one example of how it kind of like moves and ebbs and flows between Portland and Eugene and the community in different ways, and how do you connect them with the right people? And so it just, fingers crossed they continue forward with that idea. They're really talented. They know what they're doing, but it's entrepreneurship is hard, and they've all got to be bought in, and they've all got to want to do it. And then they've all got to like have the financial wherewithal to like hang on through the early days and all that good stuff. So as Niloo knows and Jake knows, right? All like so many things have to align for you to be able to make that work.
Yep. And I
Yep.
think that's a really good example, Nathan. I mean, the access as an enrolled student for product design to like heat welders and special cutting equipment and materials, it's amazing. The Natalia, the lab that you're a part of, the infrastructure itself that to get off the ground would be so much capital to raise, um, that University of Oregon students have access to is so interesting in order to create that first version of the product and not have it just be, a design on paper or slideware. But Nathan, the team with the convertible shoe, I mean, they came down with the shoes.
Yeah, they can make shoes.
I don't think that was possible in the 90s.
No, no, it was, but they learned how to make shoes, and
Yeah.
now they're like, oh, let's make a business out of this. So
Yep. And we
yeah,
had
it's super cool.
snowboard pants with one team. We had these amazing outdoor bags with another team. We had bags that were designed for first responders in the field. So that product design, just one of many areas that's just so cool to actually see the product itself, um, rather than see a slide deck.
Yep. And the last little piece on the Portland campus is, I think, that's where we host our executive MBA program, 2-year sort of nights, evenings, and weekends program for active career professionals. And one of the things that's a dynamic feature of that program is the capstone projects, where students have an idea. Sometimes it's an entrepreneurial venture, sometimes it's an improvement to their existing employer's workflow or strategy. But the capstone projects set students up with advisors who help them take their idea all the way through the end of the program. And we've had a few startups spin out of that program. We've had some fantastic people make pivots in their careers that way. So it's another program at the University of Oregon. It's different than the full-time MBA in Eugene, but it's an opportunity to engage if you're not an OEN member and you want to work with students and young professionals who are interested in leveling up their skills and knowledge. It's a great way to be potentially involved. So and it's right out there. And honestly, I was just up there yesterday teaching. It's a beautiful campus. It's amazing to have a campus in Portland. So lots of really cool stuff going on there.
Yeah, agreed. A couple of questions here. Is the program strictly on campus? There are hybrid options for the executive MBA, I believe. And then for those who want to work with students or help students, certainly hybrid and online options.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then Natalia, yeah, shoot me a message. Let's get together. We can meet in the Entrepreneurship Center or Night Campus or off campus.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly aware of what you have underway and have a lot of resources for you if you're interested.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of the process, right? Is understanding who can we help connect with, right? That is like one of the biggest assets that we've got is knowing how to navigate the community, right? And so Jake's been I don't want to age us, Jake, but we've both been around for a couple of decades now. And
Yeah, I
so
started I started SheerID with a horse and buggy, Nathan.
and some vacuum tubes with your
Uh-huh.
computers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just past the steam engine days.
Well, maybe not that long ago, but it was pre-iPhone. Let's just say that, right? Yeah, good times. Good times.
All right, before we go to Q&A, we just want to give a couple opportunities for engagement. I think that we've spoken about some of these things, but maybe get a little bit more specific. So we're always looking for mentors, speakers, and any industry engagement. In the context of helping entrepreneurs practice their pitch, fine-tune their pitch, helping them with various perspectives on market analysis and really seeking the evidence and the data in order to forecast and strategize. The development of an ICP, an ideal customer profile. That's one really fun exercise, at least I've found with students, is to try and see through the eyes of their potential customer and understand some of the nuances and behavioral aspects and cultural aspects of an ideal customer. We have the Oregon Consulting Group that's run by Scott Day in the Lundquist School. The Oregon Consulting Group engages with industry in order to do things on a project basis. So they have one underway actually right now with Pandaria to do a deep market analysis that actually unlocks SBIR matching funds from the state of Oregon. So we have, that management team plus Oregon Consulting Group in order to add to their non-dilutive funding. I think they're past 2 million in funding thus far, or right about there. Internship opportunities. This is something that I'm asked about often from MBAs and from undergrads. We run an internship program in connection to industry through the Moore Career Center at the Lundquist School, but it's not isolated to, inside of those walls. Any OEN members who are interested in bringing, really smart, energized folks in to help for the summer or, part-time during the school year, there's no shortage of students who are looking for internships. And then specifically placing MBA candidates between first year and second year in their MBA experience is a really great spot to bring sort of the higher order of experience into your company for a summer. Understanding what kinds of positions would be a good fit and what students are looking for. I think, generically students looking for experience is sort of understood, but specific areas are really, all of the functional areas of business, from finance and accounting to marketing, product development, engineering, and business strategy. One of the things that I found to be a really great fit is that we have so many students who have grown up as digital natives and have, sort of lived in social platforms, which sometimes as parents can be challenging. But for business, social is important as a channel for driving awareness and marketing and brand equity development. You have people who are like such deep experts in that world. The one that I was talking about earlier that got acquired after just like 3 months of being up and running, they hit 2 million followers in like their first 3 weeks in social. And so, if you're trying to unlock the puzzle that is social media, we have plenty of folks who can help you do that. And then really any way that you're interested in working with the school, working with students, working with faculty, we open invitation here in Eugene, up in Portland, and virtually to engage.
Yeah, and in the world of AI and social media and all of these things that move and change so quickly, it's amazing how sharp the students are with the application of those tools and technology to challenges in business, right? I would say some of the students I've met in the AI club are some of the smartest people I've ever met related to AI and understanding like how it works, right? And just like 25 years ago, the internet was sweeping the world, and if you knew how to leverage it, you had a great opportunity. I think AI is one of those things where the kids are going to really know how it all works and how it can impact organizations. And it's great to bring them in and potentially have perspective on for existing businesses to figure out like, well, what do I do with this thing? It's a tool, it's a technology. Like, how can I apply it to my business? And there are some just freaky smart young individuals in that group that can help any company figure out what they need. So.
Yeah, I'm learning so much from them.
Oh, yeah.
Previously, when you went in and like, here are the 3 slides on the product idea I have with the following bullet points.
Yeah.
Like, you can go in now and say, here, let me show you the product idea that I have. And it's the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Things move fast.
Indeed. Well, thank you everyone for your time. We wanted to leave a few minutes for Q&A. So please, what questions do you have?
I have a quick question. What is one piece of advice you'd provide to somebody who's considering joining the program or becoming part of your community?
I'll take that because I've talked to lots of people about that over the years. I think it's figuring out how your entrepreneurial journey can be pushed forward with an MBA, and also understanding that you're making an investment in the long-term future of your career, right? So it's an investment that pays off in decades rather than in years. And as Niloo is a great example of, right? You don't get to be in the position you find doors that open up to you that wouldn't open up otherwise. So I had always advised people to think about that, not just their startup idea, because that's going to come and go. But you'll find yourself in places that you would have never gotten to had you not pursued this extra education.
Great. Folks are welcome to open up your mic if you have questions you want to ask.
I do have a lot of questions, but I probably just will would be great to have conversation, coffee. Yeah, because takes longer than we have 4 minutes left.
Yeah, that's fair. Natalia, I look forward to meeting with you. We can talk for hours if you'd like.
Yeah. Michael?
Thank you.
I was actually going to say the exact same thing. I have a lot of questions. It'd be great if I could come to Eugene and just have coffee or something if you have time.
Definitely.
Sure.
The door is always open.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put my
the Center
email.
for Entrepreneurship has sort of turned into a hub for community members, students, and certainly faculty. And so literally the door's always open.
Yep. Yep. And I put my email in the chat, just if you, Michael or Natalia or anyone else wants to chat with us, I'm happy to put, just have a quick 15 or 30-minute Zoom meeting, talk through whatever your concerns might be. That's the beauty of this technology, is that that's really easy to do now, and we don't have to worry too much about all getting in the same place.
Yeah.
So, cool.
So
Yeah, and there's my email address as well. Don't hesitate to reach out.
is that open for guys who are on the tail end of their career?
Hey, Craig, how you doing?
Hey guys.
Yeah, they kept saying young on their slides.
I
I was like,
know.
what if
I'm
you're not
older than both.
young? What if you wanted
All comers,
Craig,
Craig.
yeah, you're
Okay.
you're totally welcome, Craig. The inside joke is he knows all of us. He's been around the community a long time. But yeah, for sure, Craig, I'd love to catch up with you.
That'd be great. I'll reach out to you guys.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, Natalia's going to be at the bioscience investment. Oh, cool.
She is a
Well, congrats.
finalist. Congratulations.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's cool. That's a really cool thing that you guys have done in the last probably 5 years, right, Riley? That Oregon Bio has become a thing.
Yeah, we separated, I think 6 years ago, they separated industry segments out to support them in a variety of ways.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So good work.
Well, excellent. We really appreciate you all sharing the insights about the work you're doing down in Eugene and in Portland and throughout the state. I'm really excited to see where 2026 takes us. There's a lot of opportunities out there for entrepreneurs, and this is just one of them. So we recommend you reach out to their team and find out how you all can get involved and engaged. Our team is here to help support you as well. Feel free to reach out. We are happy to make those connections. This has been recorded, and so we'll be sharing it with those folks who attended, and then we'll also be sharing it on our YouTube channel. And then also we have other programming coming up to close out the year, and we welcome you to look at our events page for that. But please, again, we're here to support you. There are a tremendous amount of resources in Oregon and Southwest Washington to do that. And we're just one of them. So let us help make those connections and help grow your network as well as growing our network. So thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. Niloo, Jake, and Nathan. Megan, thanks for pulling this together. It's been a joy to work with you. And so hopefully we'll see you all soon.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, Riley, and to
Thanks,
the team
everyone.
for the opportunity. Have a great day, everybody.
Here's everybody. Bye, Natalia.
Go
Thank
Ducks.
you.
Go Ducks.